All right. Well, welcome everyone. We appreciate you joining us for the first of a series of seminars, webinars that we're going to do on a monthly basis. We're titling this Jubilee by the Experts, and this particular one is getting started with Jubilee. I'd like to introduce myself, but then get out of the way because the guest speakers are far more important. My name is Dave Danielson. I'm the CEO of Resolvent, which is a small startup focused on student debt resolution software. More about that some other time. I was the former CEO of CIN Group, which was the parent company of CIN Legal in Best Case. I wanted to be involved in this because I wanted to answer sort of two basic questions for the group. One is why Jubilee? And then why a webinar series. So touching on the why Jubilee first, the reason for this is that I've done this with advising companies for over 30, 35 years in technology. And as you go through evolutions of technology, you find that, and I've used some examples here, no intention of disparaging any companies or saying anything negative, but I've spent a lot of time in marketing, and if we were doing marketing with automation and everything about maybe 10 years ago, we'd be using Salesforce and Marketo and doing a lot of custom development to integrate our systems. We'd probably pay about $100,000 a year, and we'd have a great solution, great software, great answers. However, it doesn't work for the small guys. It worked for the big guys, not so much for the small. Over time, we've seen the evolution and the rise of companies like HubSpot, who have taken a lower price point with a greater feature to try to move that market down and make it more available for medium-sized companies. And I'm now in the process with a couple of companies of moving to something even more cost-effective. And I use SharpSpring as an example. I'm not trying to promote any one company, but my point is that over the period of a decade, we've seen a reduction of 1/10 or more of the price that it used to cost to get certain things done. And over time, when you realize that there's an opportunity for greater features, equal or greater features at a reduced cost, it makes us as business leaders want to take a look and want to make sure that we say, hey, especially in a tough market like this, am I maximizing my software and my capabilities with the best possible prices? Then the second question, why a webinar series? Well, I've been in bankruptcy and with small law for a long time, and you guys know better than anybody that change is hard. And the best thing, one of the tough things to do is as a vendor to talk about your software, it doesn't really address the fact that what you want to hear from is the people who are like you, your peers, the owners, the founders, the attorneys of small law firms, and the paralegals. What makes them make the decisions they make? And so to try to understand the issues of change and maybe say, hey, that price is really attractive, but I'm concerned about the change. This is for helping you understand the change is possible, and to, as we go through these over a series of months, explore some of the potential and the possibilities that exist with Jubilee. And that's what we're really here to talk about. So getting off of me for a moment, I'd like to mention that we're going to touch on with these, we'll be doing these in about the middle of every month, dates to be announced. But this particular one, we're going to do a little bit on getting started with Jubilee, not from me, not from LegalPRO, the vendors, but basically from the people who have made a switch to Jubilee, what they went through, how they considered the issues, what were their decision points and concerns. Then some of the challenges and the actual successes that they came across as they learned the new program. Each of these months, we're going to put in something called What's New with Jubilee. Carlos, who's the head of development for Jubilee, is going to touch on just 10, 15 minutes of some new highlights, things that are evolving with the product. And then with time permitting, we've got a section at the end for Ask the Experts. And again, this is your questions asked and answered, or asked of and answered by our guest speakers. If you're not familiar with the webinar series, there are places in your software webinar to raise a hand, ask a question. You can pose a question through chat. You can pose a question through the question box. We'll be taking, please feel free to enter questions at any time throughout the seminar. We will try to gather them for the end. During the course of the seminar, if Yvonne or Carlos can answer those questions, they're going to text you an answer back. If we have some at the end, we'll gather them and ask them for everyone's concern or everyone's benefit. And with no further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Jeff Purcell and let Jeff introduce his team. Jeff?
Thanks, Dave. So real quickly, myself, I've been practicing law for 22 years, based solely out of Minnesota. For about 20 years or so, 18 or so, I worked at one of the bigger law firms. So my history is with a high volume practice. I had the opportunity to hire both Trish and Kylie. Started the firm when they were 18, 19, I think. Worked with them for about 10, 11 years. And then when I decided to finally make the jump onto my own firm, they came with me. So that's a little bit about us. I think the biggest thing that we bring to the table here is the fact that between the three of us, when we were at the other firm, and being it was high volume, we moved, I think, about 4 times to different platforms, data transfers, learning new programs, trying to improve the practice of bankruptcy law. For the very simple reason is bankruptcy law, as we know, consumers especially, rising costs of doing business, all that things, we cannot pass that on to our clients as readily as other businesses can. So my whole philosophy is, how do I build a better mousetrap with the practice of law? And while the COVID stuff really kind of hurt us, and in Minnesota we're down over 50% of filings, I think at the end of the day, the COVID stuff, really the positive is going to be remote 341s, electronic signatures, and the idea that we don't need a brick and mortar location. So that's been the whole kind of thought process of moving away from a traditional business model into something that's a little more lucid, a little more able to manipulate or to change with whatever the times bring us. I can't think of any 2 other women who are smarter and more qualified to help us, because my philosophy is the attorneys are great, they drive the car, whatever, but the paralegals make the firm go, and they're the ones that I can't have my success in growing what we're doing without them. So I'll let them say hi real quick, and then we'll jump into this. So go ahead, Trish.
Hi, I'm Trish. I worked with Jeff now for, 12 or 13 years. We started Solvent just about a year ago. And looking forward to the future.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kylie. Been working for Jeff just about the same time. Love what I do and can't wait to continue the practice.
Go ahead, Dave.
All right.
So what we want to start with is really kind of 2 tiers, right? What are the fears? What are my decision points? Why did I move from where I was at as far as my platform goes? And then into the paralegals, because we're going to come from 2 different perspectives. Obviously, as the owner, my biggest thing is what's going to make us efficient, what's going to make us be able to do the stuff that we have to do, and especially in the mobile world. So the first thing that I looked at, and I've used 3, 4 different client relations platforms. We've used 2 of the major, Best Case and Jubilee, as far as case prep. We've looked at every other one collectively. So we made the decision of, do we need multiple platforms? Now, I think in my personal opinion, is if you are a law firm that has multiple areas of law, that might be where it plays into it. Because while Jubilee is great for bankruptcy and you can do side things, there may be a need to have like a Clio or a Zola, Practice Panther along with it. But Jubilee, just keep in mind, Jubilee does everything those other platforms do. So whether you need to spend the extra money on the extra platform, that's kind of the first point that we went to. And collectively, we made the decision we don't. And we were working out of 3 different platforms for a while, and we were able to move over to Jubilee with just the one platform. And that leads, of course, the program itself, the cost. The 3 platforms I was referencing before, between that and Jubilee, saves me, you know, 6,000 to 8,000 maybe a year in just costs, right? And so if I can do everything at once, that's, you know, and for my cases, that's about 4 cases, you know, and that's how we always look at our costs, right? How many cases are going to cost to cover? The other cost saving parts of this, being that it's all integrated, you know, the pulling down the credit reports, I know with Jubilee's platform, it is, you know, less expensive than some of the other ones. Being able to have, looking at the cost, I don't, you know, we do kind of a little bit of a longhand for my client intake right now. I know Jubilee, we're working towards, and I do say we because, you know, I do enjoy working with Carlos and the guys. We have our own Slack channel where I fire off ideas all the time. But that's another thing too with Jubilee. They're wonderful to work with, and you'll hear that from me all the time. But you know, like the intake platform, when that gets built out, hopefully, you know, it'll be as seamless from beginning to end, taking care of our clients. So the cost is going to be really reasonable, and the ability to have a one-stop shop, if you will, to take care of everything there. Now, again, working in a modern remote world, you know, the changes that COVID, you know, I think I've had maybe 1 or 2 clients in the last 2 years, I think, that didn't want to do a telephone consultation. That really surprised me because before, when I was meeting with a lot of the people face to face, I thought that, you know, internally you're thinking, well, it's got to be face to face. I don't know if it's a COVID or just naturally people are more in tune to it, but I found the change over to, because all 3 of us work remotely, different homes are in our home. I found that to be an easy transition. And especially with Zoom and being able to do my 341s, because we're able to cover the entire state of Minnesota this way. Implementation for us, you know, number one, in working with a lot of the platforms I have, one thing, and this is why customer support is number one. When you come into a situation, I look at it, you know, I've been with some people, and when I look at this and I say, hey, we have some ideas here, you know, and Kylie and Trish will make fun of me for this, but you know, there'll be times I just ramble on about all these ideas because, well, that's just the way I work. For the most part, Jubilee has always been, well, that's interesting. Yes, we can work that in, or how about this? Maybe this will work. That's, I wish it wasn't, but it was kind of highly unusual for some of the other platforms I've worked with where, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe we'll get to it, you know, and it wasn't there. I mean, I'm able to jump on the phone and, you know, hey, we can fix things that are, you know, we wanted, as a good example, we asked about, and this is, you know, not necessarily typical, but it's a good example. We wanted to have formatting in the tasks, right? Because we wanted to be able to highlight or strike through things that we didn't need. That was done in about 2 weeks. So they move on things that they can move fast, good. And then they do get people involved with bigger implementations, bigger development. You know, and then I've kind of hit on some of the features. I know, you know, Jubilee is up and coming. That's why I look at it. And anything that it's missing in the sense that, well, you know, such as a program has and this one doesn't, they're working on it. And that's the nice thing that I know is, you know, the documents are being improved all the time. The intake platform is being worked on. Calendar improvements and all these things. Look, you can use it now and it works just fine. But there are so many improvements that as they're growing, in their whole idea is that they're going to listen to people like us who are using it. They're there. They're on the roadmap. So you know, if you're an idea person and you want to jump over to Jubilee, they're always going to listen because you know what, I don't have all the ideas. So and the big thing is, will they listen to me? I know it's kind of maybe self-serving, but that's important to me. That if I pick up the phone, say, hey Jeff, how you doing? What can we help you with? Well, what about this? You know, and they'll listen. So those are, from my perspective, you know, I can make those decisions. Yes, Jubilee is the right one. But then the big question though is, will I get buy-in from the paralegals? And that's what Kylie and Trish will talk about here. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So I think for the paralegals, the biggest concern is change. I mean, me and Kylie were used to one program for the last 10 years, and to change is scary. I think it comes with the nature as a paralegal that, you know, things need to flow. It needs to be easy to use and easy to learn too. So with Jubilee, there's been nothing short of that. It's super easy. It was easy to learn. Once you get used to it though, you just have to kind of work your way through things and everything comes pretty naturally once you get used to it. Kylie?
Yes, and to go off of that, yeah, change is huge. And the workflow, the all-in-one program, the way that you can navigate through Jubilee with no issues, it's seamless. I mean, you go from collecting on.
We lost her audio.
Yeah. Kaylee, try again. Kylie, we've lost your audio.
Go ahead, Trish.
Trish,
Yeah.
can you fill in? Sorry, Kylie.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I think what she was just trying to say is that it's nice to have everything all in one program. Workflow is a major thing. Just keeping the process of your, you know, your retained files moving throughout, you know, finishing the petition, filing the petition, and everything that comes after. The means test and the non-exempt calc in Jubilee stood out to us a lot. The means test is super easy and they're super easy to use. There's a couple different ways of using it as well. The non-exempt calc, that does like everything for you. It's super nice. You can check, you know, your federal exemptions, your state exemptions. It'll tell you what's not exempt. And then the court notices was a huge thing. Those come into every single file and you don't have to be looking on Pacer and being charged for that, for just looking at any notices on the docket that come through.
So Trish, a real quick question, and Kylie, if your mic is back, or Jeff as well, can you describe the process? Sort of, Jeff did his, you know, cost, features, benefits, then you guys got involved. How long was it from starting to when you started to get comfortable and filed your first case?
For me, I think it was, it didn't really take us that long. I mean, it takes time, honestly, but probably a good month or so where I was completely comfortable with everything.
Okay.
You
Kylie,
know, and that's also, oh, sorry,
sorry,
Dave. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, it's the change part of it too. And what I heard from Kylie and Trish, it's like, and they hit on this, and Kylie was going to get to it. You know, you're used to doing this workflow, and when we get cases in, you want to get them done out the door. When you put this new program in, you know, it's the lag in learning has to do also with the pressures of getting the cases done and making money for the firm. So that's always the give and take on that. But it definitely, for me, like Trish said, about a month before I was like, okay, I'm comfortable with everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So those are sort of the big decision points that we wanted to highlight. And we know that that's high level and rather generalized, but those are the things that you start with cost, you think there's a cost benefit, you look for coverage of features, you look for integration. I think that Jeff would probably agree that integrating with best of breed is always a better solution than trying to find everything you need in one product. And yes, Jubilee's got all the features, but if you're building a firm, you're getting to be a larger group, there's connections to Clio and other things as you need. So integrations become important. Then you guys wanted to touch on, when we talked about this, the team wanted to touch on like the next big challenges, you know, where are the things that I'm used to? So Jeff, how do you want to tackle this? Who's gonna go here?
Yeah, go. We'll just get started here. I mean, tasks, right? That's the, you know, for the way we operate, this is what drives our daily workflow, right? Within Jubilee, you can build workflows where the tasks are automatic. And that's, you know, we'll get to, you know, to say that we will probably have a webinar just on that is probably the next one, I believe, if we've spoken about it. But the tasks themselves, right? So being remotely, I can't just walk down the hall and say, hey, Trish, can you get this out? It's, you know, I take the kids to do whatever and then come back at 9 o'clock, get a little work done. I can send a task out. They're all there. And like I said earlier, they implemented the formatting in them. Other things that we have a matter screen where you can see your day's tasks, and they're all laid out really nice. But again, the tasks are both individual that you can send out and part of a workflow. Next slide, Dave. Probably the big thing that I use myself, it's so nice, both on a cost savings, but also at the 341s and also building or working for the stuff. So we have seamless court notices that get put in for, you know, as you can see here on the screenshot, everything that gets filed that you would normally pull up on Pacer is here. So again, your Pacer costs are down tremendously. And you can always go back, pull them up, your petition's there, your plan, you know, your Chapter 13 plans, everything that's filed there, you can take a look at. And again, where I use that a lot is, you know, the trustees will always ask, well, you have a previous bankruptcy? And the clients obviously don't remember, and I can just jump to here, and there's a line in there, at least in Minnesota, that says, yeah, previous bankruptcy filings were this, so I can just rattle that off. So we're good there. On the claims register itself, great. Again, you can see at a moment, you know, without having to go into any of the other websites, you can see instantly for the case what we have for, you know, the secured, the priority, the unsecured. You know, when I do a modified plan, I jump to here. When I see what the IRS wants, you know, we go into here. So it's really really well laid out, and something that, again, not only saves money, but again, it's used all the time. Calendar then?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Sorry, I have no idea what happened.
We lost you again. Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to do the calendar or do you want me to?
Oh, I can just, yeah. So calendar integrates with your, you know, with your notices. So events are automatically populated, and you know, you can go in and manipulate them to show, as you can see there, you can see at a moment's notice what everybody's calendars are at, hearing calendars and individual ones. Oh, back to the tasks. You know, the other thing too is you can monitor what people are doing, making sure, because you can go in, you know, and you can see everybody's tasks for a matter, for instance, and then you can make sure things are getting done. So again, not Big Brother, but it is, you know, you got to run your firm. You got to make sure things are getting done. So, but the calendar does sync one way right now with Outlook, and the two-way is coming. So that's exciting when that happens. But it's ready to go as far as implementing it from like a 341s or event calendar. Documents, is that Trish or Kylie?
It's Kylie. Can we hear her?
Oh, go ahead,
Maybe not.
Trish.
Anyway, so documents on, if you can see on the screenshot there, we create different folders for all of our documents. So we kind of group things together versus what we need for, finishing the petition, and then things that come after, and then, things like garnishments, motions, reaffirmation agreements. So it's nice that you can kind of separate things out, just to find them easier.
And one other additional thing on that. So what I've really liked, and it's set up like the way I looked, like the Microsoft Explorer, where you can just keep adding folders upon folders. When I do have like a garnishment, or I have well, for instance, let's say I have a dispute with the trustee. This case actually comes to mind that I'm working on. The trustee doesn't like some of the stuff, and so it's a little bit of back and forth. I created under post petition, I created another folder for just the trustee dispute. And so I dump all that stuff in it. So whenever I need to go back, pictures of the car are dumped in there. The emails back and forth I dump in, just so I have everything all in one location. So it's the folders really allow you to organize exactly what you want to be doing. So go ahead, Trish, on the petition then.
Yeah.
Sorry, here we go.
Yep. Okay, so for the petition and finishing, once you click on petition over there, it kind of drops down, as you can see, to like the general information and all of your schedules. So it's nice that everything's separated. Can't see it from the screenshot, but once you start clicking in to each schedule, things are kind of laid out a little bit better too and separated. I will say that the voluntary petition, that takes a little time to get used to. There's just a lot of information in there, kind of in a lot of different places. Nothing hard to learn, just something to get used to. But yeah, it's just nice that everything's separated out. The budget does show on the dashboard there. I think that's a screenshot of like the dashboard. So you can see the budget there, your creditors, assets, all that totals up right there on your dashboard.
One other quick thing on that. Oh, sorry. Not that you can't see it on this one, but if in Chapter 13s, you can connect to the NCD system, and you can see instantly your clients that are in a 13. Are they current? When was the last payment? What were the payments? Shows the distributions. Instead of, you can jump to the other websites, but it's nice as you're talking, you can get that information, and you can even run reports on the backside of this to download all your Chapter 13s, showing where everybody's at as far as their timeliness of filing.
Yeah.
So,
Jeff, could you restate that integration, because I know that's one that's existed for a long time, but it's not often used. I'm not sure everyone appreciates that back-end database service.
Yeah, so the national Chapter 13, whatever, NCD, I believe that the thing is, right, Carlos? Isn't it or is it NDC?
NDC, I think.
I can look at mine here.
Yeah, the NDC. But just
Okay.
The kind of things you're getting out of it, especially when you're trying to manage a Chapter 13 over a long period of time, is
right. So yeah, I mean, what I can see, I'm just looking at one here real quick. It has, on this screen here that we're looking at, just below the notes, and it's it tells you when the last receipt was, what the attorney dispute or disbursements were, the credit reports, or the creditor distributions. That's one thing. And then there's a report that you can download into an Excel spreadsheet that shows how many days late each one of your files are. So as a practice tip, what I use it for is I'll download that, and then, okay, these clients are over, let's say 35 days late. I'm gonna reach out to them and say, hey, you missed your monthly payment, what's going on? Let's catch up on this in the next month here so you don't get a motion to dismiss. And those type of things. It really is nice that way. Plus, you can data mine that, if you will. If you start seeing somebody slipping, reach out to them. Did something change? Can we convert your case? Do we need to do a modified plan? So, really, really helpful.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the means test, like I mentioned before, this is probably one of like my favorite things. It's just so much easier to use in Jubilee. So when entering like the gross income, you got a couple different options. It's not shown here, but that's probably something for the future. But you can enter in their year-to-date income, which is super helpful. It calculates itself. And I think this is pretty standard for any program. You can just enter in all the information. It also links to Schedule I as well. So there's a box in the means test that you can link to Schedule I, and it'll autofill that too.
One of the things that well, we don't. Okay, so the 13 plan, if you look down, if you on the where it's blue there, and it goes means test SOFA plan manager. The plan manager is, I'm still learning this thing, and I've been using it for now a year with you guys at Jubilee. There's a lot there, and a lot of automatic calculations. I just did a plan right before this. It took me probably about 10 minutes to put it together. Simple plan, but all I had to do really is plug in the dates, plug in the amount of monthly payment. It puts everything correctly where it needs to go. And then, nice thing too is we have, I'm sure a lot of districts are like this. They have special plan provisions. They're all saved. I click them in. You can download it. You can download it to Word, which is nice too, because if you want to make some manual changes, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of tools within the Chapter 13 plan and the manager itself. And all I got to say is I'm still learning it. So, and again, go back to it. I can call them up and say, hey, having a little trouble drafting this. What am I doing wrong? And they'll jump in, they'll click, and I'll look like an idiot because I should have clicked 2 boxes when I should have known that. But that's kind of the way it works. Client portal.
Okay,
Well,
I'm really hoping this works.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, really quick. Client portal is a nice system to contact other clients to get information in. It's its own separate tool within Jubilee where you can send a list of information out to your client. They can upload it through a link on their end. They can see what they've sent in. You can see what they've sent in. It automatically gets downloaded into the documents, which is super nice. You can rename it. They also have a program where you can set up text reminders. So it's very nice and easy. It can cut back on your collections if need be. But the automatic reminders is super nice, and you get notified when documents come in. You can approve them or deny them. You can chat back and forth with the clients right then and there through like instant messenger. I love it.
And then the exemption tool, I've talked about this a little bit earlier too. As you can see in that screenshot there, you can, it's checked whether or not you're using state or federal exemptions. If you were to click on there's another tab there next to the summary, it shows everything that's exempted, either state or federal. And then it also totals up the amount of non-exempt. So it's super helpful. I'm still learning how to use this as I haven't just fully, relied on it yet. But it's very helpful.
All right. So putting it to work, you wanted to touch on some of the things, Jeff, Trish, Kylie, that you just touching on each of these. We don't have any screenshots here, but just a couple of notes on each of these things.
Yep, templates. I set these up for us. It's really nice. So we have like 4 different templates. Essentially, there's the single 7s, joint 7s, joint 13s, and single 13s. So essentially, you know that every case has its own, like the same stuff. So their household goods, wearing apparel, you know, some of the same language throughout the petition. You can automatically set those up within the templates. So once you connect it to a matter, it automatically populates. So you're not re-entering the same information for every single case. You just select the template you want to use and it's there. So it's super nice to use. It takes a lot of time away from finishing cases, and we use it religiously.
Yeah, and Kylie, you can, so when you start a case up, can you bring the template in? Is it pretty easy to change up then for that case?
Yeah, you can. There's delete, there's edit buttons, there's add-in buttons. It's very easy to mess around with the settings and everything within the certain case, along with the template too.
Right. Now on the workflows, that's so when we kind of Kylie hit on it with the template, she set up the templates. We broke up the work jumping over, and I was building the workflows. You know, there is a lot of automation already built into Jubilee, and so you base it off of, you know, they have, was it 6 different case statuses: open, pending, filed, discharged, you know, those type of general case. But then you build your own workflows, and the way we do that is, you know, we have a goal in mind, where we want to be at the end of the day. And I always work backwards then, okay, how do I get to that goal? And so when we retain a file, we have a special workflow step that once you click that, you know, Kylie will get a task, I'll get a task, or something, you know, to that effect. 341 is completed. Trish gets a task to check to see if there's any issues on the case. So workflows allows you to just much like templates, to take a templated system that with bankruptcy you have these lockstep processes, and so the workflows allow you to be just really efficient. And you know, the nice thing too is you can set them for different people, you can set them for different dates, right? We have, I think, off of the filed or the 341 set, one of the two, we have like 4 or 5 tasks that jump out at different stages. You know, did the debtor file the debtor education? I think that's set like at 2 months out. Are there any reaffirmation agreements? We set that at, you know, we'll say 30 days. So all these things, so that way when we file a case and we start clicking these things, we're in a situation where we're not missing anything, right? Because we're not sitting there at 89 days and in the 90-day Chapter 7, oh shoot, you know, we're missing the debtor education or something like that. We have tasks to, you know, to catch ourselves, you know, because, you know, if I was filing one case a month, well, okay, I probably could keep everything in my head. Once, you know, now that I'm 48, and once we get above 5, 6, 7 cases and trying to, you know, meet with people and do all that other stuff, I rely on Jubilee to stay on the good side of my practice.
All right, so setting up a matter and setting up contacts, these two go hand in hand. I think it depends on how your firm wants to handle entering in your clients too. But correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I believe we set up a matter for everyone. The matter will also create the contact. We use the contacts for, you know, like the trustees, judges, you know, 3 PAs, things like that. But the matters we set up for any client that come through. Kylie?
Oh, sorry. Define lists. So it kind of goes within the templates. You know, it's certain things you can put into Jubilee to make it easier for yourself. So we use it mainly for Schedule D, E, and F. Again, if we have security agreements, lease agreements, you know, all of the debts that come into play almost in every single case, medical, all of that. So It's just a drop down for a lot of fields within Jubilee that you can have for your petition. And it's throughout pretty much every schedule, drop down menus or autofills. There's something similar with those two. So,
you can use it for billing, different, I know when we, there's certain things that we do in a 13. So we have very specific for codes if we're going to track our time. For anything you're going to think of like a drop down anywhere within Jubilee. Now some are, they are hard coded and you can't change them, and some are completely manipulatable. So that's the defined list. So it's Petition is great, ease of touch, really rock and roll on them. So filing
it
case.
takes a lot of time.
Yeah, filing a case. This is super fast in Jubilee. So Jubilee will file the petition, the Chapter 13 plan if there is one, and the credit counseling certificate. But it does it fairly quickly. Actually, in the last couple of days here, I've noticed it's gotten even quicker, which is awesome. This is probably a subject that we'll have to have another webinar on, but it gives you plenty of warning before filing a case. You can make edits to the petition, switching around certain documents. There are a couple documents that need to be filed afterwards, after Jubilee files the petition, but other than that, it's super easy and super quick.
One thing that I mentioned on the 13 plan, you can download it to Word. And Trish, how easy was it those times? Because some of my plans I have, since we were in an old system, I had to recreate them, and it didn't recreate right in Jubilee, but I was able to download the Word document, and I just emailed it over to Trish, and you're able to upload that and then file that right with the court too.
Yeah, yep, I uploaded it right to the documents, and as you're in filing a case, there's a tab that you can pull in different documents and add it to the filing. So again, super easy.
And now we get to the thing that I'll speak for Kylie and Trish. They hate me talking about is integrations. How can we get everything all connected, right? For someone like us, integrations are just really time saving and it's going to make our lives easier. And I think that's whether you file one case or you file 200 cases. Integrations are the key, and they have a lot of great integrations now. There's a lot of great stuff coming, and that's kind of why I'm excited to see where this goes, is because will we be able to integrate our phone into it so it all kind of pops up here and that sort of thing. The way I always look at the time saving with integrations is and this is something that goes back to our days when we were we're all working for a high volume. If you're running, let's just say 150 cases a month, and you have to click 3 or 4 spots to do a certain job, if you will, or you have to take data out of one system, put it into another system, and let's say it takes a minute off of 150, that's 150 minutes, a month, which is almost 2.5, 3 hours, right? And so 3 hours times an employee at $20 an hour, that's real dollars. But that's 3 hours that a Kylie or a Trish, who are very talented in being able to get stuff done, that are doing stuff that a computer can do. So my mantra is, let the computers do what computers can do, and let us humans do what we do best, which is, I think, really is connect to our clients who are going through probably the worst part of their lives financially. And if we can spend an extra 5-10 minutes to talk to them or talk them off a ledge, so to speak, then that's a client you're going to have for the rest of your life, and they're going to give a great review, and it just kind of builds upon what you're trying to create. And frankly, as good as Kylie and Trish and myself we'd like to think we are, the computers are not going to be, they're not going to have a typo if you're transferring data between them. They're just, I can have a typo. Well, we know that we can have typos in our Slack channel, right, ladies? But it's nice having integration. So go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos, might want to, if I introduce you very quickly, we've had a couple of questions about integration, one in particular about Lexria. People are using that for client intake and the payroll and pay stubs. Just do a quick overview of them, and we will touch on more of the integrations as we go through these webinars. We'll be able to dig into them in more detail.
Sure, absolutely, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carlos Sarmiento. I am the senior developer and project manager for Jubilee. I'm not going to go too much into my backstory because I definitely want to get to some of your questions. But this slide is amazing. This is really kind of the core of what Jubilee was built to be. Is we're not trying to be absolutely everything. We understand that there's a lot of great partners out there that can really do an amazing job, and we want to integrate with them. We want to play nice with all, right? And that's what we're trying to do. Lecture is one of our newest big partners we brought on. They have an amazing intake system. They go kind of leaps and bounds beyond just the normal form intake. They do some really cool stuff with the paychecks, credit reports, and integrating with some cool API banking technologies. And they do an amazing job. All of that data comes into Jubilee. You don't have to retype anything. It just flows right into a case, and then you're able to just pick it up and continue your petition prep work. So that's one of the amazing pieces. Clio, Practice Panther. As Jeff mentioned, they have a lot of the holistic practice management aspect of it, where we kind of narrow down into the bankruptcy field. Again, this is a whole presentation in itself, some of these partners, but this really kind of just symbolizes what our mission is to bring in the best of breed. I think that's the term I'm stealing from Dave, where we're trying to find the best partners out there and bring them into the fold and make all of that technology accessible to our clients. And that's really what we're about. We're wanting to make that experience for the law firms, your staff, paralegals, just the best we possibly can.
So Carlos, what we wanted to touch on in each of these webinars is a little bit from Carlos, like spend 5 or 10 minutes. Tell us 2 or 3 things that are new with Jubilee that you want us to know about. And these will continue to roll on as we go through the webinars. But Carlos, if you could touch on these 3 topics of Credit Vista, updated billing, and e-signature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The feature sets in Jubilee are just amazing, and we overlook a lot of them, but really highlighting on a couple of these. Jubilee Credit Vista is our integration partner with credit reporting. What we've really done here is now not just created an attorney-like portal for ordering credit reports, but also a debtor-driven portal. So you're able to send out a link to your debtor. They complete the authentication questions. They do all of that bit, and then the credit report data flows right into Jubilee. So then you're able to import it, massage it, migrate it, import it, do all that good stuff. It's great, and it introduces a brand new concept that I, as far as I've seen from all our partners, is brand new to the space, which is a debtor pay model. I know we've had a lot of firms request, hey, can we put this cost somehow on the debtor and let them be responsible for it? And we absolutely can. That's one of the nice things about the Jubilee Credit Vista is, we now have an option where either the attorney can pay, the traditional model, or, we just click, a simple button in the ordering process, and now the debtor is responsible for making that payment. So that's a great feature, and it does bring a lot of these credit reporting features to the debtor, where they can log in, they can see their credit report, and they can access all of that data independently of the law firm. Again, just kind of pushing towards a little more of this automation and hands-off approach to servicing our clients.
And Carlos, just a reminder before we move on, the price of the 3-bureau report integrated plus the monitoring and scores for the consumer or the client for 3 months, what's the price of that?
Oh, this is amazing. It's $24.95 for all 3-bureau credit report and 3 months of monitoring. I mean, this is just absolutely great. So that's per debtor, and again, that's something the attorney can pay up front, or the debtor can take care of during the authentication process.
Okay. You wanted to talk about some changes and updates to the billing plans that you've added?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for a lot of the people on the call, we think of it as updates, but billing plans might be a brand new concept. And what we've really introduced here with our payment integration partner, so Jubilee does have the ability to accept electronic payments, credit card, debit, ACH, all of that good stuff. and we have, the ability to accept payments through the attorney end. There is a client portal. So that's kind of what's always been there. But one of the great things that we've added, a year ago, and we've enhanced quite a bit recently, are recurring payments, billing plans. This really allows the law firm to increase their cash flow by setting up a scheduled payment service for their clients. Let's say the fee is, $2,000. You can set up, 6 monthly payments, and that will automatically continue billing the client until they've reached that dollar amount. What makes it really nice is the ability to end or terminate that plan. You can associate it to a fixed dollar amount. So you can say, when this dollar amount has been paid, approved, essentially, then we stop the billing plan. And that really allows for the flexibility of uneven payments. Let's say it's not a nice round number and the last payment is $100 instead of $150. The system is intelligent enough to handle that. But more so, if you have declined payments, if it doesn't go through, if they decide to skip a payment, the system knows, hey, we just need to add another payment to the back end, or it'll auto adjust to reach that dollar amount. So that's what's great. We've seen this used a lot, where they just plug in, just keep on billing them till we hit this dollar amount, and then you're able to very easily see who's completed their billing plan, and then of course you take the next step.
Yeah,
And
Carlos,
last,
hey,
we wanted to touch on. I'm sorry. Go
one
ahead.
thing, Dave, if you don't mind. So one of the nice things about the billing plans, we use, for those that are familiar, we finance our clients Chapter 7s through a variety of ways. One of the ways is third parties. And so, mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin guarantees the fees. And so we only bill the third party. You can actually, the nice thing here is it attaches to the matter. So it's for Bob Smith, but his wife, Susan's the third party. The bill you can actually build it so the bill goes to Susan, as opposed to, so for those that are doing unique billing methods, like we try to do, it is, those features are there. So just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And one last tidbit on that, where this kind of just emphasizes why it is a payment system for law firms, is we have full support for operating and trust accounts. And we fully understand the concept of, hey, the entire payment is a retainer. It goes into a trust account. We don't deduct fees. We don't touch any of that money. All of that is covered under all the fiduciary responsibilities that apply to a trust account. So again, just another little tidbit of how that follows into the everyday workflow.
Okay. And Carlos, lastly, you wanted to touch on e-signature. You wanted to alert people to?
Oh yeah, e-signature is amazing. When court started allowing it last year or the year before, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Jeff that brought it to our attention. Hey, e-sig are now available in some jurisdictions. Once we started migrating towards, COVID happened in the remote, office environment. Now that, I want to say the majority, but it might be an understatement, of courts now allow e-signature. We quickly implemented the ability to not just add e-signature ability to all of the official forms, to literally any document that requires a signature, but you can also upload your own custom documents. If you have some sort of a retainment agreement, any form that you need to create, there's a little snippet that you can just copy and paste out of Jubilee. You put it into your form, your Word document, your PDF, wherever you want a signature to go. You upload it into this packet, into this envelope, as they call, and you send that off to the client. It all gets packaged together. They click sign, 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 sign. Super friendly, super flexible with mobile devices or desktop. They sign everything. The signed documents come right back to Jubilee, automatically stored in the case, so you're able to review them. You're also able to utilize those signed documents as the documents you file with the court. So if you are required to submit a wet signature and they permit this electronic signature version, you can definitely easily achieve that in Jubilee. And of course, there is all the legal component that this is legally binding, and there's all the document tracking and history. If ever it becomes questioned in court, did they really sign it? We have all of the bullet points there to prove that this was signed by the debtor. So it offers a lot of security and flexibility in that respect.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. We're running a little short on time, but we do want to have a couple of Q&As. I want to highlight a couple things. There's probably 40 or 50 questions. I want to thank everybody who stayed with us. We're going to be taking all the questions, answering them, sending those answers out to you, along with the link to the presentation webinar. I also want to comment that a couple of early comments, fair commentary, but while we were going through sort of the introduction of the rationale of what are the decision points for an attorney, for the owner, for the paralegals, we may have done a little bit of talking and not like a lot of presenting the product. We understand that, we're sensitive to that, but I want to assure you that as we go through this series of webinars, we do plan on diving into the product. Our next one is going to be focusing on the topic of setting up workflows and digging into efficiencies, and we'll necessarily spend a lot more time looking at the product, working with the product. So bear with us as we try to make this a useful set of webinars for everyone. But I do want to touch on a couple of questions. I'll open this up to, with the few minutes that we have remaining, to Jeff and your team. I've got a question here that says they want to know what program. We purposely didn't want to try to talk a lot about competition, but they wanted to know what program you switched from and what were sort of the things that made you say, maybe I should switch.
So we've used collectively, so just not most recent, we've used a platform called Prevail, which is a on server-based system. We went over to Clio at the old firm, and then we used Zola when I first started my firm, and we've used the desktop version of Best Case up until I switched over to Jubilee. And again, going back to what we were saying, I think the biggest thing is the ease of use and the fact that Jubilee was on the cloud and they had worked out all the bugs, for being on the cloud, and it was a pretty easy transition, pretty easy decision when we saw this in operation.
Carlos, there was a question about client intake with Lexria. Can you touch on where we are with that? As you mentioned in your overview, Lexria is focused on assisting the client with client intake questions, getting a credit report if necessary, and doing the payroll, pay stubs from the employer, which is often a problem spot. Where is that today, and what do you see coming out in the next 2-3 months here?
In short, that's a big question, Dave.
Well, it is, but I was trying to summarize 2 or 3 questions. Sorry.
No, of course. So we do have a very tight integration with Lexria at the moment. What you're able to do is, of course, send an invitation out to the client. They fill out the intake process, and then right within Jubilee, you're able to see that client data and import it into Jubilee. Lexria continues to expand the amount of data that they capture. So they've made some recent enhancements that we're still catching up with, but at the moment we're bringing in, roughly 95-98% of everything that is being captured through Lexria. The last little tidbit that's being left off is some payroll deduction data that they recently added. So we need to definitely bring that into the fold as well. But the core, the majority, more than the majority, 95-ish% is being imported automatically into Jubilee the moment that you click that import button. So that's a big thing.
That would give Jubilee the ability to pull credit data from Lexria or CIN Legal, as you have, or now Jubilee Credit Vista as well. I don't know, Carlos, if you want to touch on this. We have a few questions from people who are using Bankruptcy Pro and wanted to know if you could touch on briefly, especially if I've been using Bankruptcy Pro for 15, 20 years or longer, what's it like to change? What am I going to confront there? What am I going to deal with? Are there tools? Are there benefits? Are there ways that you're helping make that transition easier?
A great question. This has been something that has been in the forefront of our development for many years. We've never wanted to push or direct people to come to Jubilee. We've always kind of let that happen organically. But the cloud is an amazing place. I mean, we've been cloud-based now for 6+ years. I mean, this is a live product that's been in the cloud for 6 years. We started development, maybe 10, 11 years, prior. So we're very comfortable with this cloud environment. People are coming to Jubilee from Bankruptcy Pro. We're getting ready to release a great migration tool that will take, about 70 to 80% of the bankruptcy case in BPRO and import it into Jubilee. So that's a great thing that is coming real soon. We're also able to bring over your entire master creditor list. So however extensive that is, we can do that today for Bankruptcy Pro clients. We even have tools to bring over, debtor information, shell case info. So we're putting a lot of effort into making that transition very easy and seamless for our BPRO clients. As far as the experience, when I started with LegalPRO, my goodness, a decade ago or so, I spent probably the first 6 months just sitting down with one of our amazing support staffs, Seville, and learning BPRO, learning bankruptcy, understanding how our desktop product worked. So there are a lot of parallels you'll see, but we've really taken a huge step forward in ease of use, in simplifying how the data intake process works. But you'll see parallels, and it looks different. The colors are different. It's cloud-based. You have those obvious differences between a desktop and a web-based browser application. But you have a similar feel and flow, but everything is just that much nicer.
Thanks. We've got a couple of questions on court notices. I'll try to summarize them. How do the court notices do they come into the matter automatically, or does somebody have to do any manual effort or linking? And also for somebody who's an IGN customer, how similar is the Jubilee calendar to the I Got Notices calendar? Sorry, two-part question.
All right.
I don't know the iCalendar one, but as far as I believe, once you file a case, right, Trish, that it automatically links. So there's nothing you have to do that, and it immediately starts populating upon filing. So
I know there's a lot of interest, Carlos, in LegalPRO trying to help people move. There's a lot of interest in moving from IGN over to Jubilee. What are the similarities, really quickly? What would somebody who's familiar with IGN notice about Jubilee's calendar?
Yeah, absolutely, David. So first, I just want to build a little bit off of what Jeff mentioned of how the data comes in from court notices. The biggest contrast to IGN is that we actually issue you a Jubilee email address. You don't have to create your own. You don't have to go through Gmail. We give you a Jubilee email. You provide that to the court, and then all of those notices, a copy, come into Jubilee, and through some auto magic logic, it does automatically get assigned to the case. So you don't have to do anything. It will start popping up, almost instantaneously. So that is a very nice aspect of it. As far as
Sorry, Carlos. One other thing, as I'm looking at my Jubilee here that I didn't mention, on your matter page, the main page, it shows your file date, it shows your proof of claims date, government bar date, 341, confirmation, retained, confirmed, discharged. So all your key dates are auto-populated as well. So it's really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things that we're doing with notices. For those coming from IGN, we have an amazing export tool that will take all of those emails from existing IGN cases and bring them over to Jubilee notices. So that is currently available. As far as the calendar is concerned, it does work very similarly to it. The biggest key difference is that IGN does something called auto events, where it creates pseudo events that go on the calendar, and then you're able to say, yes, make this a real event, or delete it. Jubilee kind of cuts out that middle step and just puts everything on its own auto events calendar. So everything is automatically calendared, and like Jeff mentioned, we do some cool stuff with the dates and a lot of the stuff coming in. So there's really nothing for you to do. We think it's a lot easier for you to remove excess data than having to go in there on a continuous basis and say, yes, that's a good one, that's a good one. So it takes a slightly different approach, but a lot of the similarity from IGN is there.
Okay. So I think we'll probably have to wrap at this point. There's a lot more questions, but again, we're not going to lose anything. We will capture all the questions. We'll document the answers. We'll distribute them to to not only the individuals, but others who may be interested in those answers. I'd like to take a minute to thank Kylie. My apologies. I'd like to thank Kylie, Trish, and Jeff, also Carlos, for helping us here today. We're starting something new. We think we're going to be helping and providing a really beneficial service. The thing that we're really focused on in the coming months is a webinar a month delivered from people who are using the product, peer-to-peer kind of communication. We're going to dig into workflows next. We've got a webinar scheduled on March 16th. We'll dig into those workflows, talk more about setting them up, using the application. There'll be a little bit less philosophical discussion for the couple of people that commented that way, and a lot more hands-on in the application. We're going to take time to drill into the different integrations. How does Jubilee Credit Vista work? What's going on with Lexria? How does the certificate of service integration work? Things of that nature. So there'll be lots of opportunities to talk about that. We'll be recording them. We'll be putting them on the website. We'll be getting them distributed out. And we really hope this breaks down some of the barriers for people that are learning to either they're currently a Jubilee user, they want to maximize their benefit, they're a Bankruptcy Pro user and they want to convert over to Jubilee. How do I do that? What do I look for? Or if I'm using some other software program and I want to convert over to Jubilee, what's involved? So hopefully this has been helpful, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and hopefully you'll join us again in the coming months. We would also love to hear from you about any topics that you'd like to hear us provide. So we'll leave the chat open here for a couple of minutes, and if anyone has any notes or comments, things that they'd like to offer up, please send them along. And a silent partner on this webinar, Yvonne, is someone that you'll probably run into. Any of you who want to get a demo, understand how Jubilee works, watch an expert go through it and really teach you how things work in it, you'll probably be talking to Yvonne. So Yvonne, you're our silent partner. Thank you as well. Carlos, you had something you wanted to add?
Just real quick, I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of you guys really want to get pretty deep in some of these topics. Please reach out to our support staff. Yvonne is a great individual that can set up an individual demo with you if there's a specific topic you really want to jump into. If you're an existing user and you really want to know about a feature set, reach out to us, schedule the time, and she'll be more than happy to walk you through it. It goes so deep in Jubilee. There's so many features we can't cover it in an hour. So thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Well, thank you all again, and we hope you have a good rest of the week, and we'll be in touch, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave.